It's a story that begins not with fireworks, but frustration. A rainy, chaotic weekend at Spa. A fresh rear suspension bolted onto Ferrari's SF-25. A 7-time world champion spinning out in sprint qualifying, and Charles Leclerc clinging to a hard-earned podium while the skies threatened to wash away Ferrari's momentum. But that was just the beginning. As Formula One packs its bags for the final Grand Prix before summer break, the Hungarian Grand Prix, a strange sense of optimism hangs over the Ferrari garage. And oddly enough, it's not just coming from Maranello, it's coming from Lewis Hamilton. You heard that right. Lewis Hamilton, the man who has yet to score a single podium in 13 races this season, is pushing Ferrari harder than ever. The same Lewis who many assumed was arriving at Ferrari for a final swan song is now elbows deep in setup notes, suspension feedback, and technical documents. According to Sky Sports, Hamilton has been submitting reports to Ferrari management, trying to steer the team toward a car that can fight, not just finish. He's refusing to become another name who failed to win a title in red. But this isn't about sentiment. This is about cold, sharp performance. It's about a rear suspension upgrade trialed under pressure at Spa, one that may have spun Lewis off the track, but could also spin Ferrari's season back into contention. I think that we have to fine-tune the situation, Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur explained after Spa. It's never easy to introduce something on a sprint weekend, but I think in the end, it was the best choice to do it, and also the best preparation for Budapest. He's not just talking about correlation and ride height. He's talking about faith in data, faith in direction, faith that what they learned in the Ardennes forest will bear fruit on the hot, twisting tarmac of Hungary. And Hungary is no Spa. It's a different beast altogether. The Hungaroring is a 4.3-kilometer go-kart track in disguise. Relentless corners, high heat, minimal overtaking chances. Here, every tenth of a second matters, and setups are everything. That's exactly why Ferrari gambled with the Spa introduction. They knew they needed real-world data, not simulations. They knew Spa's mixed speed profile and limited practice time would challenge them, but they took the hit anyway. Now, with 3 full practice sessions in Budapest and no sprint schedule to cut corners, Ferrari has time to breathe and time to optimize. Fred Vasseur is already eyeing a return to the podium. In the last few races, we've made progress in terms of competitiveness, he said. We introduced an upgrade package that further improved our performance. It will be interesting to see how the updated SF-25 performs on a completely different track, twisty, with plenty of medium and low-speed corners. If you listen closely, there's more at play here than just aero balance and tyre management. There's a war for Ferrari's soul unfolding between expectations and execution, between the scar tissue of past failures and the hope of future success. Charles Leclerc, 5 podiums in, believes the new suspension is key, especially for Hungary's slow-speed corners. We were not that magic on low-speed corners at Spa, Vasseur admitted, but I'm quite confident that all the tasks that we collected this weekend will pay off in Budapest. So, what about Lewis? Well, Hamilton might not have tasted champagne this year, but he's still doing the hard work, clawing from P18 to P7 at Spa, timing his pit stop perfectly, handling a car that's not yet his, a car still being born out of compromises and upgrades he didn't design. Former teammate Nico Rosberg couldn't hide his admiration. It's nice to hear that Lewis is also really pushing. He could be giving up, but he's really pushing on, super committed and super motivated, which is great to see. But there's no ignoring the scoreboard. Leclerc's been flying, Hamilton's been floundering, and Hungary, the track where Lewis is statistically the most successful driver ever, could be where that changes, or where it all comes apart. And if Hamilton finally does get that podium, or more, well, it won't just be the rear suspension that made the difference. It'll be the grit, the stubborn belief, and the quiet hours of setup reports filed when nobody was watching. The kind of obsession that turns a disappointing Spa into a launch pad. Lewis Hamilton has always made the Hungaroring his own personal theatre. 8 wins, countless pole positions, legendary drives in the wet, the dry, and everything in between. This track is stitched into his legacy. And yet, this time, he arrives without a single podium to his name in 2025. But what if that's the point? What if the story isn't about what's been lost, but what could be found here, right before the lights go out for summer break? Ferrari has quietly made Budapest its proving ground. The new rear suspension? It was never meant to work overnight. Some upgrades pay off from lap 1, Vasseur explained. Some others, you have to fine-tune and understand the behavior, correlation with brakes, ride height, and so on. We are still in this process. At Spa, that process looked chaotic. At Hungary, it could look like redemption. Because here, Ferrari isn't chasing pure speed. It's chasing consistency, grip, and heat management. According to Ferrari aerodynamicist Federica Kimmerosti, the Hungaroring demands a high max downforce setup, sacrificing top speed for precision in corners. In other words, this is the SF-25's chance to show what that rear suspension is really made of. And don't forget, the team isn't planning more major updates this year. The floor upgrade for Baku? Cancelled. What they've got now is what they've got for the rest of 2025. The mission isn't to revolutionize, it's to perfect. And that starts now. It's the best preparation for Budapest, Vasseur insisted. We will try to put everything together a bit earlier in the weekend, be a bit more performant next week. That means practice isn't just warm-up, it's war. Every lap, every sensor reading, every change in ride height, all of it feeds into the bigger gamble that Ferrari can hit the pause button on development and still outclass McLaren and Mercedes with what they have. So, how does Lewis fit into that puzzle? He's the variable Ferrari never had before. A driver who's won here more than anyone. A champion who doesn't need to learn the circuit, only how far he can push the tools now in his hands. According to Rosberg, Leclerc had such an amazing weekend at Spa, and Lewis was just struggling all over the place. It's a tough one. But isn't that exactly what makes this moment dangerous? A wounded Lewis Hamilton, backed into a corner by his own teammates' momentum, armed with the data from Spa and a clear track ahead. Hungary could become something far more than a comeback. It could become the spark that lights Ferrari's second half of the season. Especially since the Hungaroring rewards exactly what Ferrari's rear suspension aims to improve: cornering stability and traction out of slow-speed bends. If the data from Belgium is accurate, if the new suspension truly brings consistency in low-speed sections, then Ferrari may not just be aiming for a podium, they might be aiming for something bigger. So now the scene is set. A track that suits Hamilton, a car that's learning how to walk again, and a team desperate to prove that it hasn't run out of answers. Only patience. And here's the twist. There's no more testing, no more upgrades, no more second chances before the summer break. What happens in Budapest will hang over Ferrari and over Hamilton until the paddock rolls into Zandvoort weeks from now. Every lap, every corner, every decision this weekend could shape how this season ends. So, what if it all comes together? What if Lewis Hamilton, freshly armed with Ferrari's Spa upgrades and a summer sun beating down on his favourite circuit, finally silences the critics? Or what if the setup still isn't right? What if the grip doesn't hold? What if Hungary, instead of redemption, becomes the moment the dream starts to slip? You tell us, is this the weekend Hamilton finally reminds the world who he is? Or is it just another chapter in Ferrari's long book of what could have been? Drop your theories in the comments. This story is far from over.